excited about this subject. I really am. Like, I have notes. I was reading stuff online. I'm like, oh my God, this is so much fun to talk about. And especially because you and I have gone back and forth about this, like from other conversations. So I'm like very excited. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes, let as many people get in as possible.
And I see Meg and Amanda are on, and they are two
Yay!
great examples of women who do not shy away from self-promotion. So it's kind of
and thankfully they don't, because we know what they do.
That's right.
How do you like that? And we know what they're good at because they don't shy away from it. So I'm glad Meg's back from vacation. She actually told everybody she took a vacation, which was hilarious. All right. She had a wonderful time. Good. I'm just going to wait one more minute just so we can get everybody in.
And I love that we do really stick to the 8:55. Okay, go get your coffee and head to work.
Go take a bio break. Get to work. Okay, Hillary jumped on too. Hillary also.
Oh, nice.
Is pretty good at self-promoting. We know what she does too.
Yeah.
And we know what she's passionate about. How do you like them apples?
Right.
I like all those things. All right. We are 8:25. Good morning, Ayesha. How are you doing?
Good. I'm excited about this conversation because I think we're going to get to a sort of a point where we're drawing everything together. And that's really exciting.
It really comes along with everything that we've been talking about. I'm going to introduce Ayesha Hamilton. She's the owner at Hamilton Law, and she focuses her practice on employment law. And I always say she's the champion of employees. I am Alisa McCabe. I'm the owner at First Steps Financial, and we are a dedicated team of accountants and advanced certified QuickBooks Online Pro advisors. And we create a path to success and wealth for businesses by simplifying processes, organizing financials, and gaining insight. And we use technology and strategies to do it. Everything in this webinar is for information only, and the content on this webinar is for general purposes only. The subject is, how can we blow our own horn without it being too much? And I just want to read this quote from an article, and I'll post the article in the chat. And by the way, please put your questions, comments, everything in the chat, and we'll get to you and have conversations. It says, a study found that women are likelier to feel that hard work alone is the key to the top. And that means we often underestimate the value of being visible and well-connected in an operation. And I have to tell you that Ayesha and I had someone comment to us that keeping your head down and hard work is what gets you ahead. And we have, for women, no, it doesn't work.
Right. Which doesn't work for men either, right?
No, it doesn't work. You know what? You're totally right.
Right. That, yeah, I mean, the hard work is the constant. Everybody's doing it. So the thing we're going to talk about today is, how are you going to make sure other people understand what you're doing? And that article talked a lot about sort of letting it be known, right?
Yeah.
But let's first talk about what holds us back, right? And what, so my reaction to self-promotion, the initial response is, oh my God. And this is like a ridiculous, like superstitious thing. I don't want to tempt fate. Oh my gosh. I don't want to mess with the universe. Like, it feels like bragging. It's not right. And in fact, there's this Hindu tradition that my mom always does, which is, she'll come over to our house and she gets out her little bag of dried red chilies and peppercorns and salt and some other crap and burns it on our stove. And nice. She said, well, this is what you're doing to like get rid of the evil eye. Like, this is so these things, right, are
deeply rooted.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're sort of thinking, well, and the whole Hindu tradition is you're not going to brag about yourself because that draws the evil eye to you. So my initial reaction to when someone talks about self-promotion and branding and making sure that the public and your network knows what you're doing is, oh my God, like I'm going to draw the evil eye. So how do we get out of our way on that?
But you're not far off on that. So I don't know if you've read the book Beloved. It was the same thing happened. It was like one of the families became a little more well off, and they had a big celebration because, I don't know, the son was getting married or some wonderful thing had happened. And they were concerned about doing that because it would draw the negativity from neighbors.
Right.
Because they were moving on and getting ahead. So I get it. You don't want to bring that negativity towards you. And that's going to happen no matter what. I think success brings both. I think when you know you're successful is when someone's giving you the evil eye is bringing it on to you.
It's the whole hater's going to hate, right?
Yeah. I mean, and so I think we just have to accept it, and we have to almost prepare for it, that when you do blow your own horn, when you are going to become an expert in an area, there's always going to be somebody who wants to take you down.
Yeah. And so in fact, one of the articles you had found talks about Fortune 500 companies. We've got 3% of women are CEOs.
Exactly.
So even less if it's women of color. When you talk about statistics in law firms, the American Bar Association did a study that showed less than 4% of women were managing partners in firms. It was slightly over 2% were women of color. So clearly we are doing something wrong, right?
Well, I also think that I think that part of it is women make a choice not to do it.
Right.
I really do, because I think this whole COVID thing is going to be really good for women, because business as it stands was built for men. It's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's a structure. And in my experience with, other male cohorts and even my husband, they like structure. Right. They need to go to an office, sit at a desk. They really, really, like those in-person meetings. They want to have that. Whereas women, I think we're, in general, and I think because we have to be, we're much more flexible. Right. And our work life needs to be flexible. And I think that COVID has changed the business environment. And I wonder if more women are going to succeed and move ahead because the environment has changed and it's more compatible with women.
Right. And I think one of the things we need to sort of also address, acknowledge, and then throw in the back of the closet is, again, going back to that feeling of imposter syndrome.
Yes.
So I recently, there's a legal issue that I thought, well, I'm going to write an article on this. And then I'm going to submit it to Law 360, which is sort of like a legal publication. And ever since I submitted it, I've had this pit in my stomach, right? Of, oh my God, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm way off base? And they accepted the article, which they are not going to do if, they do some vetting too, right? Yeah. And so that goes to part of being, I need to be seen as an expert. I need to present myself not just to my clients, but also to my network, and my legal community needs to see me as someone who knows what they're talking about. And then the minute you step out of your comfort zone to do that, you've got that pit in your stomach of, oh my God,
crap, what have I done?
What have I done? Literally going through my head was, why did I do this? I didn't need to do this. I could have just stayed quiet on the issue. Right?
It's a very uncomfortable situation to be in.
Yeah. And really so part of it is just getting out of our own headspace to say, what are the things I need to do to be successful? Right. So part of it is figuring out, how do I want the public to see me? So I think
Right.
you have to do some thought on that, some thinking on that. And then the other part of it is then what do I need to do for the public to see me? So like,
Right.
you
What's
can't just wish for it. You got to go after it.
so so Lisa Snyder said there's a great book on promoting yourself called Brag, the Art of Tooting Your Own Horn Without Blowing It. And she put the link in the chat if anybody wants to go directly to it. And then
And Amanda actually adds a really interesting question. And I think that I could talk about that for like
oh
half hour.
yeah.
Is
So
this crisis going to drive women back into the role of caregiver while men continue to preserve their careers?
yep.
And just for anyone who doesn't know, Amanda is a stellar divorce attorney. So I imagine she's seeing some of these
Oh,
issues.
she's busy girl.
And I think that that's a really, really interesting question in terms of how do you balance your family dynamic too, to make sure that you can continue to stay true to your objectives and what your, listen, I'm not giving up my law practice, right? I'm not, you're not going to stop, just wrap up your company because we now have childcare issues. And
Yeah.
some of it, and I will say to our benefit, is our kids are older. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
if you don't
Yeah.
have kindergartners,
Oh
you're in
my
a
God.
different place.
I can't even imagine. I don't know. I have to tell you, my choice might be different if my kids were younger.
Yeah.
I mean, my two youngest ones are 12 and 14. So I can't imagine having little kids and trying to do this. And I think my thought is that women will relent before a man will,
Right.
in general. Like, I don't know. I feel I actually was on Facebook this morning on a mom's group, and one of the moms said she's leaving her job so
Right.
she can stay home because their town just put out what's going to happen in the fall, and it's going to be a crazy schedule.
Right.
It's not even like the same days every week that these kids are going to be home. So how do you even plan for that?
Right. And Amanda says, sorry, off topic. Actually, it's
Yeah.
part of the topic. I don't think it's off
It
topic
is.
because I think you have to start with, what do I want? Right. So that's part of it, right? So you're not going to spend the effort on self-promotion if you're going to end up going down a different pathway. But really thinking about self-promotion and thinking about your branding may help clarify, I can do both.
Yes.
Because I think it's important to also think about, as part of thinking about your branding and self-promotion, you're thinking about your accomplishments. And I was talking to this group of high school kids a couple years ago, and I said, you guys all have a brag sheet, right? Like, didn't your guidance counselor tell you as you're starting to prepare for college applications, you have to create a brag sheet? And I said, everybody should have a brag sheet. You have a little notebook that's in your nightstand, and every time something cool happens, throw it in the notebook.
Yeah.
But not just that, right? That's not the last step. The next step then is write a blog about it, put it on your website, do a newsletter. Because you have to, when you talk about accomplishments and something that you have brought to pass, it's not bragging about me. It's a bragging about a situation that went really well. And for me, it's actually easier to talk about that because I can sort of separate the Ayesha's the greatest from, Ayesha was able to bring about this accomplishment, right?
And we talked about that last time too. Like we are not good at, telling everybody, like putting ourselves ahead. And I think it's easier when it's acceptable too.
Right.
So one thing that we do on our team, anytime someone on my team gets a compliment from a client, they forward it to us.
That's nice.
And it's expected. Like, and yesterday I just got one, and she's like, and the person on my team said, this is the third compliment I've gotten. I just wanted you guys to know. And my response back was, that is so awesome, because the person said, we're lucky to have you. And I said, they are lucky to have you. I said, we are too.
Right.
because I want them to continue doing that. I want them to continue to collect these good things. First of all, they make us feel good. And I think we do a better job when we accept those compliments from others and then tell someone about it and then get positive reinforcement from it.
Another, I think, really key point that maybe helps build this um, sort of culture of compliments, right, is complimenting others, right? So it's not just about, I'm going to wait until people say good things about me, but it's, you know, you see somebody talking about an accomplishment, weigh in on their LinkedIn post, right?
Yeah.
Say, hey, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a fantastic, I see Kathy Joshi just joined. She has this fantastic new book that she has been receiving compliments on. She's a professor of race studies, and this is a big time, right?
Yeah.
But
The purpose
weighing
of it.
in on her post to say, hey, that's fantastic. I mean, your book is
Yeah.
really timely. Or, you know, someone else saying that, you know, we got this testimonial from a client. You know, we all put this stuff on our websites, on our social media, because that's what we need to do to play the game, right? But cross compliment or,
Yes.
you know,
I
weigh in.
totally agree. I think that that's really important. And it's building that network
Right.
of other people who you support each other and you promote each other. I
Right.
think that's a huge thing. The other thing that, you know, we talked about, and you were just talking about, you know, being an industry expert. So I know that for us, what we do in ours, in the accounting community, is we belong to all these Facebook groups where it's, you know, QuickBooks experts and all these different things. And we chime in and answer questions.
Right.
And so then people start to know that you're an expert in that industry. And it's worked for us because then people, I've had private message from people like, hey, you know, I saw you writing about this. Can you help me?
Right.
And that's been really fantastic in that sense. And I imagine if you're an employee of somebody offering to do that, like, hey, you know, I can write an article on that, or, you know, hey, I'll speak on that. I mean, webinars are so big right now that
Right.
if you work for a bigger company, one of the things you can definitely do is say like, hey, this is my area of expertise. I'll write an article on it. I'll do something. And as Ayesha said, you might feel super uncomfortable about it,
Right.
but you have confidence in yourself. You are not an imposter. Believe in yourself
Right.
enough to be able to do this.
So part of what I think, you know, we've got to think about is where do you spend your time best, right? Because as you're talking, and I know I do some of this, but going through my head is, you know, every single one of these women that are on and men that are on this call are busy, right? We're busy professionals. We run our own businesses, or we're, you know, teaching, or you know, practicing law. Like there's a lot going on, right? So everyone's head's exploding with, what? Now I gotta write, now I gotta speak,
Can I do
now I
one more
gotta.
thing?
So how do you, Alyssa, how do you decide what is the right thing to do? Because
Yes.
you could spend 24 hours a day
Oh,
marketing and not all
so,
of it's good.
and it's true. So it goes back to what we were discussing before, is what your brand is. So you have to decide what you want people to perceive you as. So it, you know, they talk about brands for like big things, but everybody has their own brand. And how do we get it out there? Meg said, hire a good business consultant. but it's true. You have to decide, where are you going to focus it? So for us personally, we are focusing on becoming experts in technology and systems, accounting systems specifically, to solve those issues. And that's where we focus all of it. And that puts us in there. So we do say that we're accounting engineers, and we, you know, try to promote ourselves in that area. How do you do it? What do you decide, you know, that makes the most sense for you?
Yeah, I mean, and I've made a lot of mistakes, right? So I mean, you know,
Mhm.
I
That's the
actually
territory.
agree with I agree wholeheartedly with Meg in that I do think you need somebody who is outside of your company to bounce ideas off of. Now,
Yeah.
I've hired lots of people, at different times that didn't get what I do. And they
Oh,
didn't get the limitations that lawyers have on marketing.
yeah.
So be cautious about who you're hiring and make sure that they are, I think, there's a lot of general practitioners out there in every
Yep.
field, but make sure that you're getting someone who at least understands what you do. And
Yeah.
I think, I look at, and I go back to my brand, right? I'm an employment lawyer. I primarily represent employees. So what I do, the LinkedIn posts or the Facebook posts that I comment on and will spend a couple extra minutes on, is in that space, right? Because I need people to see that I'm in that space, right? So I was chatting with my business coach, who's a former lawyer. Well, she's still a lawyer, but she's
You're
not.
never not a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the Marines. You're always a Marine your whole life. It's the same thing for
Exactly.
lawyers.
Yeah, and my daughter, who's 13, is not even a lawyer, but she's a lawyer.
Oh,
So, chatting with my lawyer coach, who's essentially said, you got to have somebody else read your website, not you,
yes.
right? Someone else needs to read their website, and then they need to tell you what you do for a living and who your target market is. And I
Yes.
thought, my God, that's brilliant, right? So everyone should do that, is have somebody else, and don't tell them why you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
But that's part of making sure that your self-promotion is on point. And then, we get overwhelmed by marketing tasks. But if you really think about, I'm sitting in front of the TV at night, I've got 5 minutes, I'm going to jump on LinkedIn, and I'm going to scroll through, and I'm going to see a post. Chances are there's a post from the Harvard Business Review, the Harvard Law Review, or some place that I can share this now and write a sentence or two commenting. So sort of
And so
getting
an
out of
easy
your
way
own
to do
way.
that, there's actually a program called Meet Edgar.
Oh,
And I'm telling you, if you are doing any social media, Meet Edgar, hands down. Someone told me about it who is really big in our accounting industry. You pull in articles and you read them, and then you just you set them up to go out, and it can go out to LinkedIn and Facebook, and it's fantastic because you cultivate what stories you want.
yeah.
And it helps, and it goes to talking about how you're an expert in this area. What do you want other people to read about, to say, like, this is a really good article, this explains X, Y, and Z, if you need any further help with it, reach out to us. So
So I
it
know
tells
you,
people
sorry.
about it.
I think you can also think about, are there portions of this that I can hand off to someone else? We likely all have teenagers at home. Is there some part of this messaging that I can hand off to them to start pushing out on social media?
Yeah.
They're likely better at it than we are, but then you have to be really strict about staying true to your brand, right?
Yeah.
So throwing an LOL at the end of something is not going to be professional.
Not super
No,
professional. Yeah. No, I
but
hear you.
you can, you can sort of work with what you have, to sort of think about, listen, I had this great case resolve, and I want to talk to that type of client because that was a good client. They paid on time. They were a senior executive. They were at a large company, and everything came together well. So think about who your favorite clients are too, as you
Right.
think about, who am I going after? Because you can't make self-promotion scattershot, right?
No,
So I
no, it
think
has
that's
to
a
be
waste of
focused.
time.
So one of the other things that we were talking about was building a network. And it's funny because um, we were laughing about a boys club. Like, there's always been a boys club, and we were joking about it, but we need to build our own clubs,
Right.
and our own group that we lift each other up. I actually belong to a group of women. It's actually all women business owners, and they happen to all be in the same industry. And it was really interesting because in the article that I posted in the chat, they there was women that did this in the 1970s in the healthcare industry,
Wow.
and they supported each other and helped each other rise up, and many of them are still CEOs.
Wow.
And so it's interesting that we need to think about, and it doesn't have to be just women. It can be just like, it can be a lawyers group, and you support each other and raise each other up. And because I think in a situation like that, it's easier to have someone else help you self-promote
Right.
and help you say, like, and just what you were referring to before, can you read this and what does this sound like to you? You know,
Right.
whether it's your website, whether it's a blog article you're writing, and someone will tell you, you know, like, this is great. You are spot on with this.
Okay, so I've got to be the devil's advocate.
Oh, go ahead.
So almost every large Fortune 500 company, almost every large firm, almost everybody now is a check the box, has a women's affinity group, right, within their company.
Okay.
And still the promotions aren't happening.
Right.
Still the sort of lift as you rise concept isn't happening. And so I wonder what the issue is, right? So it used to be, I don't think it still should be, but it used to be, well, there's only so many seats at the table and I've got one of them and I had to pay my dues to get here, so you do what you need to do. And I think we have to stop thinking that way.
Oh,
But
I
also,
think,
while we recognize that people are still thinking that way, you have to do what you need to do to let the public know what your services are.
oh, absolutely. And I think it's great that bigger companies have developed these groups, and some of them probably are very effective, but others might not be.
Yeah.
People might be there because they might have to be and really don't have buy-in. Uh, you and I have both been to networking events where an employee of a company is there and they're just there.
Right.
They're not there promoting, and they don't have buy-in. They're not an employee thinking like an entrepreneur
Right.
who is the ideal employee. And maybe that's why, I don't know. I it's just a guess, but I know that in these other groups that I belong to, all the women are absolutely in support of each other, and so many women that are actually on with us today. I know that we all cross support each other. We all belong to groups and stuff. And I don't know why it doesn't work in big business, but it works in small business.
Yeah. And I think maybe that's the benefit of being our own bosses, right? Is that we're very clear, and even those of us who work in firms or work in other companies, but I agree, everyone on this call is someone who is self-motivated, right? And so
Yeah.
there's that sense of entrepreneurial spirit in you that says, well, if I don't take care of it, if I don't talk about my accomplishment, I know that the network around me in my corporate environment or in my firm or, you know, in my network is not necessarily in tune with the fact that we need to be promoting each other. I don't think it's intentional. I don't think it's a sense of, oh, well, if I promote her, then I lose something, right? There's enough pie for everybody. But I
Yeah.
think it's not a conscious thing. So if we start making promoting others a conscious habit, others will pick up on it. And I think that's how you change the behavior.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we need to continue doing that.
I love Meg. Meg says small business rocks. You're right.
And you know what? There's other comments on here that I just wanted to, someone else had posted that, hang on, I just have to squeeze it in here. Someone said there's a good book. Let me just find what Meg said. She said, must read. When everything changed, the amazing journey of American women from 1960 to present. And she said, this is an interesting look back at the messages that we were given and how we are changing the conversation.
Right.
And I think that would be an interesting read to look back and see. So for women our age, what message did we get? And does somebody who is, younger, do they not worry about this as much? Are they okay with self-promotion?
Well, we certainly didn't grow up with Twitter and
No.
Facebook and sort of the selfie generation, right?
Yeah.
But I know the messaging I got growing up in India was, oh, you don't talk about these things because that draws the evil eye, right?
Yeah.
So I have to overcome like the wrath of the universe to self-promote. So, I feel
Oh my
like,
God.
yeah. So I think it's also important, right? So Lisa posted something about hoping that our children see us as role models, right? But part of it is you have to make sure that you're expressing your joy in accomplishment to your kids as well. I think they have to feel your excitement. They have to know it's okay to talk about your accomplishment, right? And I think that's Meg's point, is we have to be changing the messaging.
Oh,
And it's
absolutely.
a conscious effort, right? Because your immediate reaction is, oh no, the evil eye.
Yeah. And so we have like 1 minute left, but Amanda just posted something that's really awesome. And she said, seriously, when are we supposed to do all this reading? And how angry are we that men don't have to do any of the self-improvement or lifting up of each other? And some of it I agree with, but I have to tell you, men are going to have to start keeping up with us, because we're going to keep doing this, and the environment's going to change, and they won't change as quickly as we do.
Right.
And I think that we're going to keep promoting ourselves, building our networks, becoming experts, and being flexible. And we're going to do it. We are out of time. Everybody's got 5 minutes to get coffee and go take a bathroom break. Next week, we are going to be talking about how do you own your financial independence, even if you're not the breadwinner. And I'm like really excited to talk about this, because it is hard to be the breadwinner, to not be the breadwinner, but still own your independence as financially. So
It's
exciting.
a good one.
All right. Great talking to everybody. Have a good week. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.